All right, so hello and welcome everybody to the Buddhist Recovery Network Academy. It's nice to see that there are so many of you here. I'm Susanna, joining you from Helsinki, Finland, and I will be your host today. I'm a Buddhist training for ordination in Theravada Buddhist Center, and I'm in recovery. I facilitate both 8-step recovery meetings and mindfulness-based addiction recovery courses here in Finland. And I'm also the vice president of the board of the Buddhist Recovery Network. And we have Beth doing the tech today. Thank you for your generosity. And then we have a new academy teaching offered by Venerable Clear Grace Dayananda. Welcome as well. And the topic of the teaching today is returning to our luminosity, the Aggañña Sutta, and breaking free from binding ways. So Pali is also not my first language, so hopefully I get all of these words correct. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Venerable Dayananda and the teaching in just a moment. Okay, few words about Dana. All of our teachings are given freely, and we are blessed with some amazing teachers who have experience on the cushion, experience working with body, speech, and mind, experience in the ongoing practice of recovery by the way of Dharma. As we practice the Buddha's teaching of generosity, we invite you to give dana that will be given to support our ongoing Buddhist Recovery Network meetings and to support the teacher. You can give on a one-time or recurring basis using the link that is there. There is the QR code, and for the people living in States, there's the message code that you can send. Everything is very easy. It's easy to do it, just a few clicks. And there will also be a link where you can make your donation. And please, if you remember, indicate that your donation is for the Academy. And we sincerely thank you for your generosity. And if you forget to say that it's for the Academy, all the dana that is given just before, during, and after this session, we will be directing to the Academy. And then we go to the main part of the evening, even though I think that dana is also very important and that we are gathered here. But we are gathered here because there is a new amazing teaching. So I would like to introduce our guest teacher. We have today Venerable Clear Grace Dayananda, and a Black Buddhist monk, received novice ordination under the guidance of Venerable Zen Master Thich Nhat in the Plum Village Vietnamese Zen tradition. Later, she attained higher ordination with the Embracing Simplicity Contemplative Order, inheriting transmission lineages from both Theravada and Mahayana traditions from her Master Preceptors, Ashin U Pannadipa Thero, and her Master Maha Theri, Dr. Pannavati Karuna. Immersing herself in the study of verse from a young age in the Church of God, Venerable Dayananda seamlessly embraced the Buddhist scriptures, finding profound liberation within the teachings of the Dharma. The Dharma has become her greatest source of insight and transformation, empowering her to heal from injustices and sufferings of all kinds. Recently honored for her 2-year pilgrimage, the great aspiration, she received the 2024 Outstanding Women of Buddhism Award as a testament to her dedication to spreading the transformative teachings of Buddhism and her impact on a wider Buddhist community. Congratulations. In response to her unique calling and distinct presence at the intersection of diverse communities, coupled with her commitment to sharing the transformative power of the Dharma, Venerable Dayananda continues to embrace authenticity and live the universal truths she has encountered. As the founder of the Traveling Monk, she now leads Sangha House Nola, situated on the 7th ward of the New Orleans, Louisiana. She serves as a conduit for healing and transformation by sharing her integrative skills, learned and unlearned truths, wisdom traditions, and views of the world to help others unlearn deeply embedded beliefs that have hindered the experience of joy in daily life and for the alleviation of suffering for self and all beings. And there will be a link for the Sangha House Nola in the chat, at least later on, if not now. So then we go to the teaching. The Aggañña Sutta offers a striking lens through which we can understand how systems of power, craving, and division take a root both in the world and within ourselves. This teaching traces the movement from a time of luminosity and ease into a world shaped by grasping, hierarchy, and suffering. How does this sutta help us better understand the forces of capitalism, oppression, and instability that reinforce patterns of craving? And more importantly, how can we break free from the binding ways that keep us caught in the cycles of suffering? Through this teaching, we will examine how recognizing the constructed nature of the world and our conditioned responses allows us to loosen the grip of craving and move toward a truer liberation. So thank you, Venerable Dayananda, for being here with us today. And the screen is all yours. Thank you.
Susanna, thank you so much for that wonderful intro. And hello, dear beloved beings from all over the cosmos. I am so honored to be here with you this day and grateful for the invitation. I would like to sit in a guided meditation with you before we get into the teaching. So I want to invite everyone to rest into a gentle position. Allowing our feet and legs to rest. Softening the spine. And we can keep our eyes either closed or softly gazing. And just wherever the breath is, we let it be natural. No need to manipulate the breath. Just the knowing that we are breathing. Resting into the breath. Resting into the body, breathing. Body breathes. And now we can even let that effort of breathing and we can let that dissolve. No more placing the mind on the object of the breath, just letting that dissolve and fall away. No more directing. Allowing the mind activity to cease to exist, letting it settle down. Only mind remaining. Quiet and undisturbed. If we experience a natural joy arising, allow it to quiet the mind. Allow this joy to spread through the body, through our limbs, through the spine. joy spreading through the breath and the belly. And allow this joy to saturate our full being. Remain steady with the presence of joy. Ding. Hello, beloveds. I thank you for sitting with me. As I came to the close of our meditation, I thought, oh, I have everything here except for the bell. And I'll tell you something funny, because my Venerable Master Karuna Pannavati always invites the bell in this way as a ding. And so as Susanna was sharing about my Master Preceptors, I pay homage to the World Honor One, Shakyamuni Aye Buddhaya, and also to the Venerable Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh, and Bhante U Pannadipa, and Dr. Venerable Pannavati. So Thich Nhat Hanh, being the Zen master that he is, and my teacher being a Southern Baptist, if you take the two and they were to have a disciple, this is what you get. I also want to share that today here in Bulbansha, we are experiencing thunderstorms and a lot of rain and lightning. And we are known for power outages, as the grid and the infrastructure does not support us. So if I seem to cease to be existing, you will know what's going on. I want to get into this wonderful sutta. I hope that we can together find relevance in it and that it can be tangible to our daily life, the Aggañña Sutta. I'm going to start by summarizing a little bit about the teaching. It starts out as a myth where the Buddha responds to the Brahmins and a sort of their understanding of hierarchical society. And these two Brahmins come to the Buddha's order to become ordained. And they start practicing with the Buddha Sangha. And then the Buddha says to these two Brahmins, says, you're here practicing with us ascetics, us lowly ones, us those who have gone into homelessness. What do the Brahmins say about you being here, Brahmins? And the Brahmins go on to say, well, they say that the Brahmins are born from the mouth, from the head of the Brahmin, and that the ascetics are born from the foot of the Brahmin. They go on to say that we have left the higher way into the lower way of being. And so the Buddha responds with this myth, and he goes on to say that there are 4 types of classes. And isn't it true that each class has the effects of wholesome karma and unwholesome karma? And how is it true that this is the highest form of being, or the form of entering and existing into the world? And then so the Brahmins go into asking the Buddha to explain further and explain more. So he goes on to talk about our luminous beginning, which there's, even though this is a myth and the Buddha used it as a context to counter the Brahmin stories, we can take a lot from its relativeness, especially in today's world. So he goes on to say that at the beginning, we were a community of luminous beings. And how we existed in that world was in a collective, as a community, and not through individualism. And then the earth was covered with water. The moon and the sun and the stars had not yet appeared. He doesn't say that they didn't exist, but they had not yet appeared. And over the crust of the earth was a layer of milk, just as if you were to boil milk and the skin is on the top layer. And then the beings saw this crust on the earth and reached down with their fingers to taste this crust. So they, at this time, these beings were luminous and mentality, feeding on the delight of rapture, bliss, and joy, the joy that is born from samadhi practice, or our concentration practice. And as they tasted the crust, they stepped into materiality, and they started to descend from their luminosity. Then there was fungus, then there was rice, then there was earth, and then there were beings, and then there was gender as they started to descend, and then there were borders as they started to descend. So the Buddha says, as these beings over a really, really long period of time started to extract the resources from the earth, then the resources became rare and there was scarcity thinking. So then we created borders and boundaries and lines to separate our crops from the crops of others. And then there were those that were likely, and there were those that were unlikely. And there were those that were rich, and then there were those that were poor. And there were crimes and those that needed to commit the crimes, and also those that needed to punish the crimes. So if we're looking at this ancient sutta 2,600 years ago from ancient India, and how the Buddha was applying this wonderful myth that he was countering, there's much that we are able to take from how the Buddha says that we started to lose our luminosity, our original nature, our true way of being. The descent from luminosity. In the Aggañña Sutta, there's an excerpt that says, there comes a time, Vasetta, beings are born in the Abhasara Brahma world, mind-made, feeding on delight, self-luminous, moving through the air. So this is where he's talking about the beings of mentality. The sutta begins with this luminosity of the beings, radiant, joyful, and unburdened from form. They dwell in a world where there is no division, no grasping, and no need to possess. But over time, as beings begin to taste more, to turn toward form, they forget their origin. They become heavier. Boundaries appear, identities form. This is not a fall from grace, but a forgetting. We too descend in this way, not with one tragic event, but slowly, subtly, through wanting more and forgetting that we are already full and already enough. Craving as the entry point. Then some being of a greedy nature said, I say, what can this be? And tasted the savory earth. Craving arose in it. And because they became arrogant, the savory earth disappeared. At this they lamented, crying, ooh, that flavor. Ooh, that flavor. And so nowadays, when people say, ooh, that flavor, they are repeating an ancient saying without realizing it. Aggañña Sutta in the Digha Nikaya 27, 2,600 years ago. And the Buddha says that we continue on saying this mantra for a really, really long time that has this karmic momentum from lineages back, from our ancestors all the way back to beginningless time, just like samsara has a beginningless time. The Aggañña Sutta reminds us that craving didn't make us bad or wrong. It makes us human, our very intrinsic nature, our need to exist. Craving entered as a way to try to taste more of life, to find sweetness, to feel full. But what begins as a taste, especially in a world shaped by capitalism, scarcity, and separation, can grow into a fire. And when left unchecked or met with pain, that fire of craving becomes a hunger that consumes us, turning inward, burning up clarity, connection, and joy. Yet it's not a story of not being or beginning or of failure. It's a story of remembering that we once were luminous, that we are luminous, that our luminosity never leaves us. It's only covered by the delusion and the craving. It is the fire that forgets its origin. It turns inward and dissolves our joy and our connection to community and our interconnectedness. But that flame can be remembered, so not to be feared, but to be understood. Individualism, division, and the wound of separation. So now let us divide up the rice into fields with boundaries, an excerpt from the Aggañña Sutta says. We see the moment when beings begin to divide the earth, draw boundaries, and claim what once was shared. Rice plots are marked out, lines are drawn around mine and yours. And from this, the first acts of stealing, lying, and punishment appear. From this tale about ancient beings, we are given a mirror, a world shaped by individualism, destruction of life and community, loss of community, violations of dignity, private ownerships, and systems of power that thrive on separation. In recovery, we begin to efface the understanding of the slow drift from community into isolation. The belief that what's ours, our grief, our coping, and even our pain must be protected at all cost and done alone, and not done alone, but in community with tangible reminders of our luminosity. The Dharma reminds us we were not made to live apart. Our nature is luminous in togetherness. The division of land and life was not the beginning of order, but the beginning of suffering. Healing begins when we stop drawing lines, when we open the gates again, when we let others in, when we reclaim, reimagine, and take back our sovereignty, not for ourselves alone, but for all beings and the alleviation of the whole mass of suffering. When nothing can be taken or given in the consciousness of our mind, when we not only remember, but we know for ourselves through our direct experience, which happens on the cushion in the samadhi concentration practice, our luminosity can never again be dulled. But it does take cultivation. We have to keep touching that space, keep going back into that space to remember our luminosity. We should surround ourselves with those who can be a mirror and who can embody that luminosity, who have had a chance to have a direct experience with similar or like understandings of our very own particular sufferings. When nothing can be taken or given in the consciousness of our mind, we not only remember, but we know for ourselves our luminosity can never again be dulled. We should surround ourselves with those who can mirror and embody that for us. As we walk this path of remembering, we learn light cannot exist alone. So I really appreciate this here, because if you were to take two candles and light them and put them side by side, you would see that the light becomes collective. It's not the light from this candle or the light from this candle that is illuminating the room alone, but yet that it's doing it together. So it's that part in the middle where both candles are illuminating a light and reflecting off of each other. One candle alone is fragile, but when many candles are lit from one flame, the light becomes endless and the flame never diminishes. Self-protection as the flame feeder. The illusion of mind becomes the spark for guarding what hurts, but each of us is more than the worst thing we've ever done. Brian Stevenson. We are luminous, even still. Delusion as the soil of suffering. Those are abandoned by me, their root destroyed, made like a palmyra stump, deprived of the conditions of development, not destined for future arising. The fermentations by which, if they were not abandoned, I would be a Gandhava, a Yaka, a human being, those are abandoned by me. Their root destroyed, made like a palmyra stump, deprived of the conditions of development, not destined for future arising. Just like a red, blue, or white lotus, born in the water, grown in the water, rising up above the water, stands unsmeared by the water. In the same way, I, born in the world, grown in the world, having overcome the world, live unsmeared by the ways of the world. Remember me, Brahman, as awakened. I've taken this excerpt from the Dana Sutta, which is also one of my favorites in the Anguttara Nikaya. Moha, the delusion that feeds our crave and fear, our understanding of anicca and anatta, the self or the non-self, and the idea of impermanence, our impermanence nature. This helps to dissolve the false self. When we no longer recall the past in the same way, it is uprooted like a palmyra stump. The lute song. From the second jhana, the character of our mind begins to change. Our clarity begins to clear. Lightened by the delight of rapture and bliss, this marks a turning toward deeper stillness, toward the freedom born not from doing, but from being. The self, like the sound of a lute, is not a fixed thing. It is temporary harmony. Our lives can be rewritten, reclaimed, reimagined. This is not from the ego. It is samadhi born, mindfulness concentration born. It's a knowing. So we practice to stay drenched, steeped, and filled with the joy born of stillness. And there are many suttas throughout the Buddhist teachings that talk about this lighthouse, this luminosity at the forefront of our mind that shines the light of all of the conditions and the arising and the coming and the going of the mind of our five aggregates. And this is the luminosity that gives us the energy to continue to practice. I want to share with you from a little bit more of a personal experience and how we are practicing here at Sangha House. There was a really beautiful share the other day from one of our Dharma talks, and it talked about being in community and how it feels like when we are doing the work and the uprooting and looking at the mirror of wisdom to see our true selves, it doesn't feel like work, but yet we're doing a whole lot of work and uprooting and heavy lifting. And I found that really profound because we've been doing some, just as we all have this year since the calendar year of January the 1st, we've all been working really, really hard, nonstop. We've really had to be practicing at the forefront of our minds to be here, to exist at this very particular moment. And we know that things are interesting with community, and having community to support and understand and to shine light on us is beneficial. So I really wanted to capture that because I think that it's profound and it's helpful from folks' different direct experiences, that when we are in community, it doesn't feel like work. It's not recognized as work, yet we are working really, really hard together, interconnected. And so we recently went on a retreat for the 60th anniversary of Bloody Sunday in Selma. And the theme of our retreat was already free. And I thought really long and hard as we entered into Montgomery as part of our practice of doing our deep looking and our uprooting. And I'm sharing this particular experience with you from an embodied experience, and how the craving and the clinging onto this I and this identity of how I exist in the world, how I exist in this beloved community. We arrived to Montgomery to go to the Legacy Museum, and we are also met at the church and at the steps of the courthouse and Rosa Parks, where she sat on the bus. And we also went to the Greyhound bus station where the Freedom Riders. So we were doing this deep work in the soil of the South and this retreat already free, but facing some really pertinent today messages that went in our face of the very systems and structures that intend to keep us bound. And so what does it mean to walk in a way we're already free? And this comes with the luminosity, having the confidence at the forefront in the consciousness of our mind. And it also comes with doing a lot of difficult work, a lot of difficult seeing, a lot of knowing that though as I am practicing as though I'm already free, I am existing in a world where I am already free and nothing can be taken from me. And at the same time, being present with those that are fully bound and in the midst of horrific atrocities, horrific war, horrific detainment, horrific causes and conditions, always at the forefront, but remaining in the luminosity of the collectiveness, the interconnectedness, the knowing that is born from samadhi. Walking in a way, breathing in a way, practicing in a way, uprooting the palmyra stump in my mind over and over again, to already experience the taste of what it means to already be free. For self, for others, and for the alleviation of suffering. So I wanted to share that very personal experience with you and open it up to the rest of the Sangha to share and to reflect, offer any feedback or advice in your own personal experience and how this might be tangible to you, how being in community can shine the light on our luminosity as a reminder. It's like the practice of the 4 right efforts or the practice of the 4 diligences, to always bring up something to replace maybe an unwholesome thought or an unbeneficial thought. I like to say an unbeneficial thought. It's either beneficial or unbeneficial. And already free, remembering our luminosity, the namaste, that I see the light in you. I remember your luminosity. And that's where I direct my attention. And that's where I know I am already free. So I'm going to bow out there and turn it back over to you.
Thank you so much, Venerable Dayananda. Luminosity, that's beautiful. And this taste of freedom that I heard from your talk, they did stick to my heart. But I will say a few words about the Q&A, because now there